Yo, what's going on guys? Evan Tanaka here, back with another video. In today's video, we got another episode of the series where I rate and improve your guys' teams. You guys send me your teams on Twitter at evantanaka1010, and I'll give you guys a rating 1 through 10. Could be a 7, an 8, a 9, or a 10. And I'll give you guys my best suggestions for your guys' teams to make your squads as good as possible. If you guys are new here, I'd really appreciate if you could subscribe down below. I post 3 to 4 Myteam videos every single day and give you guys some of the best Myteam content on the platform. So further ado, let's get on to the video. Looking at the first team here comes in from Little. He says he's got 200k on current gen and he's selling Levine for Giddy once I get him to save some MT. Probably a good idea if you want to save some MT, but you do got Ben Simmons, Chris Mullen, Larry Bird, Blake Griffin, and Yao Ming, which is a very good starting lineup. The bench is still really good as well. Overall, this squad is super good. I'm gonna give this a 9.5 out of 10. Starting off this video with an amazing team. You got Ben Simmons, Zach LaVine, 2 of the best point guards in the game. I like Jimmy Butler, I like Draymond Green. My only suggestion might be, I like Jimmy Butler a lot, but you might want to look to get a better offensive shooting guard for the bench, because if you look at your offense off the bench, you only have Zach LaVine. Jimmy Butler really can't create for himself, and Draymond Green is a lockdown defender, so you might want to pick up a better backup shooting guard to create on the offensive end. I think Dr. J would be a perfect player, a perfect shooting guard for Jimmy Butler. He's going to not give you the same defense as Jimmy, but he's still going to give you some pretty good defense, and he's going to give you a lot more offense than a guy like Jimmy Butler. Or what you could do is maybe move Jimmy Butler over Chris Mullen and have Chris Mullen off the bench. It really just depends. I feel like on both your or on the bench, you only have one offensive guy, so you might want to get a second offensive guy. But like I said, this squad is a 9.5 out of 10. Looking at the next team here from Kobe Denzel, he's on current gen and has 825,000 MT. He's got a good starting lineup with Giddy, Dikembe, Draymond, Jonathan Isaac. Bench is a little bit worse. Not the biggest fan of Jeremy Grant, Marquise Johnson, Bradley Beal. So I'm gonna give overall this team an 8 out of 10. I do feel like the starting lineup is probably an 8.5, but I feel like the bench is a little bit worse. So I'm gonna go 7.5 on this team. We're not gonna touch your starting lineup. The starting lineup is gonna stay the exact same. For the backup point guard position, I would go ahead and get Derrick Rose. He's only gonna cost you around 90,000 MT, and I do think he's one of the best point guards in the game. Backup shooting guard position, just like I recommended for the last guy, I would say Dr. J is amazing. Or if you want to go for a bit more offense, go with a guy like Cazzie Russell. For the backup small forward position, you already have Draymond Green, who's really good. I would just snag a Ben Wallace. He's going to give you that lockdown defense off the bench. What you could also do, actually this is what I'd recommend doing. Take Jonathan Isaac, move him to the backup small forward, and then for your starting power forward, I would get Jermaine O'Neal. So then your bench would look something like, you know, you can obviously change a couple of things, but your bench will look something like Derrick Rose, Dr. J, Jonathan Isaac, Thon Maker, and Ralph Sampson. And then your starting lineup would be Josh Giddey, Vince Carter, Draymond Green, Jermaine O'Neal, and Dikembe Mutombo. And if you make those suggestions, I think this squad is now an 8.5 out of 10. Next team here is going to come in from, I think it's pronounced Gutta, I could be wrong. He's got about 640,000 MT, and he is on next gen. He's got a pretty good starting lineup as well. Bench is pretty decent. There's like 1 or 2 players I would definitely recommend getting rid of, but this squad overall is an 8.5 out of 10. The 2 players I would recommend getting rid of first is going to be Jaylen Brown and Ralph Sampson. For Jaylen Brown, I know I've recommended him for every single team, but Dr. J is only around 80,000 MT, and he is one of the best value shooting guards in the game, if not the best value shooting guard in the game. So get Dr. J over Jaylen Brown. Like I said for the last team as well, I do like Cazzie Russell in that spot. And then for the backup center, get the NBA St. 5 Hakeem Olajuwon, who's only around 25,000 MT. I didn't spend a lot of your MT. That's only going to cost you 100,000 MT, and you can even sell Jaylen Brown for a little bit. But I would get Dr. J for the backup shooting guard, and then get NBA St. 5 Hakeem for the backup center. Next team here comes in from ASAP. He says Jermaine and Clay have a few more Hall of Fame badges, so I think I can run with them for a while longer. He's got 1.4 million MT on current gen. He's got Ben Simmons, Klay Thompson, Zion Williamson, Draymond, and Yao. A pretty good starting lineup. Bench is a little bit weaker. I'm not the biggest fan of having Marcus Smart at the 2. So overall, I'm gonna give this team 8 out of 10. It could easily, very easily be an 8.5 or a 9. My first two suggestions is going to be have Zion as your starting small forward and have Draymond as your backup small forward. So now we have the small forwards out of the way. I think those two guys are very good. What I would do for the backup point guard position is I would decide, do you like Jordan Poole or do you like Marcus Smart? In my opinion, I would take Marcus Smart. I get rid of Jordan Poole and then put Marcus Smart at the backup one. So your point guards are now Ben Simmons and Smart. Your shooting guards are going to be Klay Thompson, and like I've always suggested, Dr. J. Super good value-wise. If you want to get more of an expensive guy, obviously you can go after a Paul George. But honestly, I think Dr. J is just as good as Paul George, maybe even a little bit better. So your bench would look something right now like Marcus Smart, Dr. J, Draymond Green, Jermaine O'Neal, and Dwight Howard. In my opinion, that bench is a lot better. And then for your starting lineup, I would get a guy like Jack Sigma or Dino Raja if you want to go more on the cheaper side. If you want to go super expensive, I would go with a guy like Blake Griffin. And then after you make those suggestions, your starting lineup will be Ben Simmons, Klay Thompson, Zion Williamson, Dino Raja, and Yao Ming. And your bench would be Marcus Smart, Dr. J, Draymond Green, Jermaine O'Neal, and Dwight Howard. For Dwight Howard, I personally like David Robinson better, so I would get the signed David Robinson as well over Dwight Howard, but I know you locked in the MT for him, so you might still want to use Dwight. But for the better center, I think signed D-Rob is only around 80,000 MT, and he is much better than Dwight. And after you make those suggestions and upgrades, I think this team is easily an 8.5, maybe even a 9 out of 10. Next team here is going to come in from Francisco Frias. He's on current gen with 440,000 MT. He's finding a good groove and unlimited, 7k XP away from Giddey. Should I replace Simmons with Giddey? Any changes or lineup adjustments to get Bob Nedelecki? Willing to sell anyone, plus willing to spend 300. Okay, so around 300,000 MT. Okay, so let me see. Let me look at the squad. 300,000 MT to spend. Okay, so we got Ben Simmons, Jimmy Butler, Draymond, which I do like. But once again, I think it was the second guy or the third guy. I just feel like you don't have an offensive guy on that starting lineup. Like, who's scoring the ball between Ben Simmons, Jimmy Butler, Draymond, and Jonathan Isaac? Yes, Ben Simmons is decent. Yes, all the guys can score, but who's your primary ball handler? Who's the guy, if you need a bucket, you just give the ball to him and be like, he's going to get me a bucket? I would get one of those guys. I think you could move Ben Simmons to the backup one, and you can, or maybe you could sell Ben Simmons and get a guy like Luka Doncic if you're on next gen, which I don't know if you said you're on next gen or current gen, or maybe you could get like a Zach LaVine over Ben Simmons. I do think Ben Simmons is really good, but on that starting lineup, you need a guy that can score the ball. Off the bench, you got Marcus Smart, he can score. You got Vince Carter, he can score. You got Larry Bird, he can score. So maybe what you also want to do is maybe move Draymond to the backup 3 and have Larry Bird starting, or maybe move Jimmy Butler to the backup 2 and then have Vince Carter starting. You just want to balance your lineup out, a lineup a little bit more to have some offense and some defense, because right now your starting lineup is all defense and your bench is pretty much all offense. For the rating, I would give this squad an 8.5 out of 10 though. It is still a very good team. Those are just kind of my suggestions, the way I would work around your squad. For the backup 4 as well, I think Jermaine O'Neal is better than DeMarcus Cousins. And for the backup 5, I would get the NBA 75 Hakeem. I do think he's going to be better than James Wiseman for a little bit more expensive, around 25,000 MT. And Jermaine O'Neal is only 40 to 45,000 MT, and he's going to be a lot better than DeMarcus Cousins. And then you can start Jermaine O'Neal and have Jonathan Isaac come off the bench. So maybe what I would do is go Ben Simmons, Vince Carter, Draymond Green, Jermaine O'Neal, and David Robinson. And then for the backup, I would go Marcus Smart, Jimmy Butler, Larry Bird, Jonathan Isaac, and Hakeem Olajuwon. And in my opinion, that team is then a 9 out of 10. Next team comes in from Spicy Bape, and he says he's got around 150,000 MT. He's got D'Lo, Jimmy, Larry Bird, Nedelecki, and KP. He's got a very good bench as well. I like how this team is, it's put together really well. You got some good defenders, you got locks on both lines. You got Jimmy Butler for your lock on the first line, and then you got Draymond Green for your lock on the second line. And you have some good offense, D'Lo, Larry Bird on the starting lineup, and you got some good offense off the bench with Dwayne Wade and Chris Mullin. This is a very good, well put together team. I'm gonna say honestly a 9 out of 10 because it's very well put together. I would just say you need to upgrade your point guard position, and other than that, your team is pretty much not perfect, but a very good squad. I'm gonna say, yeah, 9 out of 10. But then I would upgrade D'Lo. I think Dwayne Wade is good enough. I would upgrade D'Lo to a Zach LaVine if you can save up for him. He's around 200,000 MT, or go ahead and get yourself a Derrick Rose. for around 90,000 MT. And after you do that, I think your point guard position will be a lot better. Those are my suggestions for your squad, but overall, a very well put together team. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.